Hi everyone. I really enjoyed
Hello.
it. So I've just spoken to Charles and Eleanor about it as well. I know a good laugh. But I'll start with you, Barney, actually, because it's one of the kind of relatively kind of newer members of the kind of casualty team. It just got me thinking, when you get a new member of the kind of cast, are there any initiations you guys have to go through? Do you ever have to do anything when you first sign up to be welcomed into the team?
No, do you know what? This is the point, Stefan, where I'd love to make some intricate story up about how Mike made me do.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, but no, no, that's not the case. Everyone was very lovely. Everyone was very welcoming. We all went for dinner, actually. They all took us out for to the Indian up the road to the Indian restaurant. Do you remember that, Mike? Were you there that night?
Yeah, no, I wasn't there that night. No,
Ah,
you had the fortune of coming in as part of a gang as well, which
yes.
is kind of off-putting for us to do any sort of initiations because you've got to do it like 4 times,
Okay, yeah.
and because there's a gang of them, they'll probably get you back 4 times worse.
So strength in numbers,
Yeah.
Stefan. Yeah, I was lucky.
Yeah. I'll come to you next, Melanie, because I was going to ask, obviously, this episode is a bit different to the usual kind of casualty episode. It's not following the kind of typical structure and format that audiences are used to. Even though I know, obviously, your jobs will remain the same, I just wondered how kind of aware you guys were when making this of the kind of idea of weaving in the real life footage, and also just how important it is to kind of present this kind of message, I suppose, to viewers about the vitality of giving blood.
Yeah, we knew what was going to happen and where the little inserts were going to be, but we didn't know what the stories were going to be. And as it happens, they were so close to the script, and they really highlighted the story that we were dramatizing. I think it's Erin Kabicki's really done a great job because it brings into focus what we're actually doing, the stories that we are telling, and the fact that these are real people who have gone through stuff that we're portraying, basically. So it really sharpens that focus. And obviously, of course, you've got the blood going through the whole episode, which is sort of like a lead character in itself, because you start with the blood at the beginning, then you follow the bag right through the episode to the very end. So we knew it was going to be great. I mean, I've got to admit, when I was reading it, I was like, this is brilliant. And the fact that it's a standalone episode always brings that extra passion from everybody and the crew and everybody. So, and with it being Christmas, it was a joy to film, basically.
Yeah, because Mike, I mean, I always like, I was going to ask you, I mean, because obviously it goes without saying, and it's something we all have inbuilt in us anyway. But having starred in Casualty and been a part of the kind of Casualty kind of team for a number of years, has it given you a kind of greater and deeper admiration for kind of nurses and doctors?
Oh, completely. But you still never, we talk to medics all the time. We've always got medical advisors on set, and we're always doing our research. So yes, over the years, I've learned a lot. And you like to think you can hold your own in certain emergency situations, but then I had a situation a few weeks back where I saw a real paramedic team doing CPR on somebody at the bottom of my road. And obviously we do CPR, fake CPR all the time, and you feel like your instinct your instinct is want to go over and offer help, but actually seeing them all at it for real, just to remind you that these things are happening on a daily basis. These emergencies are happening, and they're just around the corner. So yeah, it does teach you a lot being on the show for as long as what we have, but you still never fully appreciate what these professionals go through on a daily basis, and the constraints that they work under as well, and the lasting effects that each one of their sort of cases and scenarios puts them in, and the way they have to move on to their next case or get up the next morning and do it all again. That it can't prepare you for, I don't think.
Yeah, because I mean, do you think in some ways, I mean, obviously the show's always been it's always been about entertainment, but there's always been something quite important to the kind of messages from it, as is kind of the case with this Christmas special. But do you think across the years the show has taken on an even more urgent kind of importance given the kind of current state of the NHS?
I mean, I can only speak in the times that I've lived in, but I can't imagine how it's changed that much throughout the years. It's a show that does represent what's happening in the real world. It has a responsibility to tell those stories authentically and represent what's happening in society. That's why the show's always fresh. We've always got stories to tell, and we move with the times, and that can be anything that's happening politically or socially. That's the way that the show moves forward and is always kept fresh, because those periods in life and periods in our lifespans are changing, and our show has to keep up with that.
Yeah. And Barney, I'll come back to you because I'm interested to know about the day of filming the kind of Christmas special. What's that day like on set? Is it any different to the kind of regular day? And how does it feel to kind of pretending it's Christmas out of season? I always imagine it must be quite weird for an actor.
You know what? It was really fun, and it was really exciting to turn up, and for the ED. I mean, we work there so often. We know what it's like. We're there every day. We know what it looks like. But to turn up and to have all the exterior ED all covered in snow and the Christmas tree set up, it put everyone in a really good mood. And so much so the crew were coming in dressed up in there. They had Christmas jumpers on, even though it was September at the time. And Heather from upstairs brought down some mince pies. So we all had a little bit of like a Christmas celebration, get in the spirit. And I think that was actually quite helpful for us in terms of filming and pretending it's Christmas, because we really did pretend it's Christmas. And I love Christmas. So I had the best time. In fact, I feel quite smug because we've had Christmas twice and no one else would get to have that.
True. Although I watched I watched it this morning, so I've kind of had Christmas today.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
But Melanie, I was going to ask, because obviously everyone loves watching TV shows together at Christmas. I just wondered, will you be sort of sat around with your family watching this when it airs, or after many years kind of on the show and after so many televised episodes, does that novelty kind of wear off somewhat when it's actually airing on the BBC?
No, I'll definitely be watching it. I've already seen it, but unfortunately I won't be with my family because my daughters have flown the nest and one's in Australia. So I think it'll just be me and my husband, but we'll definitely tune in on Christmas. Well, actually it's the 21st, I think it's on. Yeah, and I will be watching it. Yeah, but following on from Barney, it's important to have that banter at work, I think, as well as actors. You know, when you're dealing with emotional scenes and you're telling emotional stories, it's important that we have that camaraderie and banter as actors, but also in the ED. I think Siobhan in the Christmas episodes trying to keep the morale up and handing around the chocolates and just looking after a team where everything around them is just falling apart. You know, they've still got to keep that banter going, which I think is quite important, and it's quite strong in this episode. So you've got both sides.
Yeah.
I think Christmas gives everyone a little bit of you feel a little bit fuzzy inside, don't you? You feel happy and I think that because of the way we treated the episode, I think that watching the show back, it really translates onto screen in the moments, of course, where it's not life or death or we're in recess or, and there's a lot of that throughout the episode, as you know, Stephen. But for us to kind of be just, in cubicles or in admin and have those kind of more real life scene, more like just run of the mill. This is Christmas Day and the ED scenes. It really added it to have that kind of have that feeling of it feels like Christmas here.
Yeah, banter in it. It's yeah.
And the next one, I'll start with you, Michael, but I'll be interested to hear all of your thoughts on this one. But I love the Casualty theme tune. It gives me so much nostalgia. I was saying to the other guys before, it makes me feel quite funny because when I was quite little, maybe 7, 8 years old, when Casualty started, I had to go to bed. So now whenever I hear the theme tune, I get this kind of overwhelming feeling that it's like bedtime. It's quite strange. I just wondered if you've got any kind of iconic, kind of memorable theme tunes from TV shows that elicit quite a nostalgic reaction from you.
Well, Casualty definitely. Sorry, Mel, did you start with you? Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just thinking of Doctor Who, and I was just interrupted you there because whenever I heard that music, I was that terrified. Being a child, you'd have to hide behind the sofa. So that's quite an iconic one, don't you think, Michael? Sorry.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, for me, it was the A-Team was always one, and then you still use the Baywatch theme song. That's always one when you're kind of running along the beach. You feel very David Hasselhoff. So a Baywatch was a very pivotal point in my childhood.
I bet. Thank you, Pamela Anderson. No doubt.
What's yours? At the risk of making us all feel very old, what's yours, Barney?
Mine's well, growing up I used to hear the Cheers theme tune a lot in the house. That used to be on the telly and repeats of Cheers. And I really fell in love with that song growing up because it's really lovely song. It's got really nice words, and it's a cool theme tune. So I really enjoyed that one. So I'd say that one. Yeah.
And I'll come back to you, Mel, because I've something sort of, when Barney was sort of speaking before about the kind of everyone being together kind of on set and stuff, and the kind of how this did feel slightly different episode, but there is such a slickness now, isn't there, to the Casualty kind of operation. It must get to a point where it feels so seamless, and obviously you all need to still go out and do a good job, and you need to service the stories and the characters, and dare I say, but does it almost feel after kind of doing it on kind of so many episodes, is there just that kind of flow and rhythm on set? Does it feel quite seamless when you're actually involved in it?
I think the crew do an amazing job in the fact that we do put out so many episodes, and we're working throughout the year. But it never feels like that to me. It's each day is exciting and it's fresh and different, to be honest. And because the stories are so different and they're real stories. So I don't know what you guys think, but to me, it's not. It doesn't feel like at all, even though it's been going like a juggernaut. When I get a new script, I just think, wow, this is a new adventure, and we're off again, and we're going on that direction now. So,
I think that everybody in our show, from everybody upstairs in the offices to, writers, producers, directors, to cast and crew, care so much about the storylines that we're telling. And often they're very poignant stories, and they're very emotional stories, and there's a level of respect on the floor and care that means everybody is invested on a daily basis. So it's a show that you can't just churn it out. You can't just turn up and churn it out. And every bit of detail and every emotion that you're telling, you are telling somebody's, we're representing somebody's life on screen, and that can be a real pivotal moment in their life. And if we get that wrong, then that's not right. We haven't done our job. So there's always a level of care that means that no one day is the same as the next. It's always, there's always a level of a level of care, I guess, is the best way to put it, to each thing you do.
Yeah. And also in the resource scenes, I mean, very often you'll get a scene in set and resource which will completely change. So very often I just leave them. I never learn them, because obviously when the paramedics bring in the handover, it's real life. We have to work around each other, the medical things, and very often the whole thing can change, can't it, Michael? Because when you're actually getting a patient off a gurney onto a bed, it might take slightly longer, and you might need 3 essays when you only thought you'd need 1. Or we all adapt, and that's when we all come into our own, because we really support. Everyone supports each other, and it's a very organic process, resource, isn't it?
It's such a prop heavy show that you're constantly having to work, you're constantly having to think about things. So I've got to hold this wire with this hand and this tube with this hand, and then I've got to pull the patient across, and it's actually a real patient on the bed. So like there's never a moment, there's not many moments, particularly in resource, that you can rest on your laurels. And each place has each prop and each move has its position and its importance within the scene, and we all love to get that right, and make sure that it's all done chronologically and realistically as well.
Yeah, there's a huge responsibility with this, isn't there? Because like you said, you're depicting so many kind of circumstances and sort of scenarios that so many people have had very emotive kind of relationships to. But one thing that sort of struck me is how do you, because Casualty always manages to maintain, I think, a kind of element of hope and comfort, despite the fact it's genuinely depicting quite sad and quite serious situations. But how do you think it captures that balance to kind of have that element of optimism amidst the kind of severity, I suppose, of the scenes that are taking place?
I think it's through the people who work in the ED. And the fact that, as you say, that they have to deal with these traumatic events, but you get carried along by their spirit and their teamwork, and you kind of really will them all to pull through together, and it just shows that support that the NHS workers all give to each other, because it wouldn't function without it.
And also, what have we got? What have we got with that optimism and hope?
Yeah,
it's the one thing that keeps the staff going. I guess
that's one of the things I find really important in this show is seeing the staff's personal lives from time to time, because being able to see that and seeing not just the realization of they are human beings too, which can go overlooked. Funnily enough, a lot of people take hospitals and the NHS and the staff within them for granted. But to see our characters and to see a glimpse of their personal lives and to go, oh, they've all got struggles and strains going on, like Siobhan and the storyline with her husband Rich and Stevie, or like Cam and the storyline with Jamie and Bobby going on before, or Iain and Faith and everything going on there. But despite that, they turn up to work every day and they still save lives. Sometimes they might not be able to save the patient, but they do their hardest. And I think that's where the hope comes from. Like you're saying, hope. I think that's a lot of where the show's hope comes from, is that these, should I find myself in a life-threatening situation, I'd want Iain or Siobhan or Cam to come and look after me. And I think that's kind of where the hope is.
That's great. Also, just very finally before I go, I was just going to ask, and this is because I think Mel, you kind of mentioned about the kind of reading the kind of scripts, and it made me think, because whenever I watch Casualty, I used to love playing kind of guess the accident, because at the very beginning they kind of tease a few things. I mean, even in the Christmas special, I saw forklift really early on. I was like, hello. Is there a similar experience when you read the script? Do you ever try and figure out before it happened what might materialize into a kind of a major plot line?
Not really, because you just, each page that hits you, you just kind of have to you're just imagining it as it comes out. I mean, it just, I don't know how to answer that. What do you think, guys? It's just, the scripts are so interesting and well written that, yeah.
They are.
I wouldn't dare. Go on.
What I would say is, I think you read the script with a little bit of character bias. So, for example, the patients that Cam's treating, I will have subconsciously paid more attention to on the page, just because I'm in those scenes and I have those lines. So when the show comes out, or when we watch the episode, for example, we've all been sent the Christmas episode to watch, and looking and seeing the parts of this episode that Cam wasn't privy to, the stuff with Stevie Nash and the child, really heartbreaking stuff. That kind of stuff, even though you read it in the script, it's one thing reading in the script and then seeing it manifest on screen, and that's always a joy to see that manifest on screen, and that stuff was absolutely heartbreaking. So, but yeah, it's guessing. It's not so much guessing; it's more so much translation. Like, how is this translated into the show?
Well put. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for your time today. It's been great to speak to you all. I'll be watching it again on December the 21st with the family, so I'm sure you all will. But yeah, cheers so much, and have a lovely rest of the day.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Bye-bye. See you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey you guys!
Hey!